Hey everybody, what's going on? I am Danny K, and this is Off Chain, where we talk all things blockchain. I'm just going to do a quick little video about the Treasury Secretary Mnuchin's surprise press conference, as well as some quick kind of insights from Dave Marcus's meeting and hearing with the Senate committee for day one, because I believe that they're going to be seeing him again tomorrow. But I don't know. I mean, it's very, very interesting to see how all this stuff is coming together. You see, President Trump takes a tweet on Twitter, obviously kind of bashing Bitcoin a little bit. Then we have a surprise press conference talking about the U.S. Treasury's role in cryptocurrencies, what they feel about it, what their worries are with the Libre and Facebook, which I gotta say, I'm really sick of this Libre coin. But it's weird because on one hand, it's great for adoption, I guess. It's going to get people kind of more familiar with how like a digital currency works. But I don't think I mean, one, it's not a cryptocurrency at all. It doesn't use a blockchain. It's not decentralized. It is basically like a PayPal 2.0, in my opinion. But so I'm really annoyed at the fact that we have a company like Facebook, which has been decimated in the news over the past couple of years with, allegations of election rigging. At wherever you fall on that side, I don't care. I'm not here to debate that. But at least accusations of election rigging, the Cambridge Analytica scandals, the multiple violations for privacy rights to consumers, paying multiple fines, running unlicensed experiments on individuals to see how they react if you have your feed has more negative versus positive posts. They're a pretty dicey company, to say the least, and their main product and goal is to sell you and to collect your data and sell that to companies. And if you think that they are going to do anything in the nature of the consumer and with the end user in mind, you're mistaken. You're the end user. You are the product. So they want to sell you and package you as many ways as they can. Here we got Mnuchin. I always struggle with the name. Mnuchin talked quite a bit about some of the worries that he has with digital currencies, and especially with Libra, and basically he's talking about how he, says that there's been a good amount of illegal activity being used for digital currencies, which, by the way, it's not, and that they are very concerned with it and they want to be able to implement the same high level of financial standards in their current U.S. financial systems with anti-money laundering laws. Sorry, I can't get that. AML, CFT safeguards, like bank secrecy acts, currency transaction reports. They basically want to put the same rules and restrictions on these digital assets and exchanges that they do Wells Fargo, Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase. Which I don't blame them. The only difference is that Wells Fargo, Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase have been working with politicians for so long that they're, kind of one and the same, and they're allowed to get away with a lot more than a cryptocurrency exchange like Coinbase or Poloniex. So I feel like the regulation is going to be extremely difficult for no other reason than the fact to be difficult. Again, if you ever think that your government cares about you and your investments and making sure that you're safe from a fraud or a scam, no, they don't. I'm sorry to ruin your belief, but unfortunately, They're not here to make these regulations to make you safer. They're here to make sure that they can control it and make sure that it doesn't upset their economy and their ecosystem any more than it has to. Here we basically say Mnuchin says the Treasury Department has been very clear to Facebook, Bitcoin users, and other providers of digital financial services that they must implement the same AML CFT safeguards as traditional financial institutions. So the industry now knows that money transmitters of cryptocurrency must comply with relevant bank secrecy obligations and register with FinCEN, which has collected more than 3 million Bank Secrecy Act reports in the last 11 years. He also reiterated some of the remarks President Trump made last week regarding Bitcoin. As the president had said, Bitcoin is highly volatile and based on thin air. We are concerned with the speculative nature of Bitcoin and will make sure that the U.S. financial system is protected from fraud. But who's going to protect the fraud within the U.S. financial system? Is my question. As we all know, it's just really frustrating to me that, for the longest time they, kind of brushed cryptocurrency aside, and then they had that big rally in 2017, and then they've been dragging their feet for regulation, and then all of a sudden a company like Facebook comes in and says, hey, we're going to take over this, and they're like, no, and all of a sudden things start moving. And unfortunately, I feel like because Facebook has such a bad rap, and rightfully so, that they are going to be unnecessarily stern when it comes to cryptocurrency regulations and doing everything they can to make it as difficult for the end user as possible. Also today too, where is it? So there was a Senate hearing for David Marcus. He's one of the top Facebook executives that's working on the Libre project and the Libre project. And he basically testified in front of the United States Senate Banking Committee. Basically giving some insight as to what is going on with their project and what they want to do. And as you can imagine, a lot of these regulators are very concerned and worried about Facebook's role in having access to that type of financial information and that kind of financial data. I'll just go to this TechCrunch article and read some of the highlights. I'm not a big fan of TechCrunch, and honestly, I think they're a little too pro Facebook and Libre in my opinion, but bullet points are bullet points. So basically it said, the U.S. should absolutely lead the world in rulemaking in rulemaking for cryptocurrencies. The Libre Association chose to be headquartered in Switzerland, not to evade any responsibilities of oversight, but since it's where international financial groups, like the Bank of International Settlements, and that's why they decided to headquarter there, though Libre will be regulated by the U.S. This was a very interesting thing that I thought. They kept asking, why did you headquarter and why did you open all your accounts in Switzerland? And they kind of gave each other a look, and there was a pause, and then he said, oh, we're not trying to evade any responsibilities. We are going to be regulated by the U.S., but we just thought that there would be a good, international financial groups out there to get this off the ground. And, I don't think that Facebook would thinking, oh, well, we can be centered in Switzerland and do all our banking laws based off of Switzerland and just think the U.S. government was going to just, be like, oh, okay, like, no, they're coming in and they're going to control this thing. They, said, yes, Libre will comply with all U.S. regulations and not launch until the U.S. lawmakers have all their answers concerned. You won't have to trust Facebook because apparently, so this is known that the Libre Association is going to be a basket of anywhere from right now it's 28, but hopefully up to 100 different companies. A bunch of different companies that you may or may not have trust in, but they're all going to share kind of the burden and the liabilities of maintaining this asset. And so, Facebook or any of these companies in this association wouldn't have any quote-unquote special privileges. Special privileges meaning that they wouldn't have access to your direct and specific spending habits or how much money you hold in your Libre wallet for the purposes of data mining and selling ads. However, they did say that developers and third-party apps can ask permission to get that data, and Facebook could also ask permission for that data. So when you install an app and it says in order to run this app you need to grant these permissions, well, one of those permissions that could be slipped in there is like, hey, let us track all of your spending habits. And if you don't think that Facebook won't do this, or the Libre Association won't do this, then you're clearly not paying attention. It's basically the same thing that happened with Cambridge Analytica, and how they were able to go around certain privacy policy restrictions through third-party apps to basically data mine and get a higher level of data from its end user at the end of the day. Let's see. Facebook's core revenue model around Libre is that more online commerce will lead businesses to spend more on Facebook ads. So this is what I think is really funny. It's not intention at all for Libre to sell or directly monetize users' data directly, though if it offered additional financial services and partnerships with other financial organizations, it would ask consent to use their data specifically for those purposes. Now, also somewhere, and it's not listed right here, but they also said that this is going to be run as a not-for-profit company, which is absolutely ridiculous. If you don't think that data, especially direct spending data, isn't some of the most valuable information that they can give to advertisers to just boost revenues and profits, then I don't know. This is basically what I think it's going to lead up to, is that they're gonna say what they need to say in front of all the regulators. Say, no, there's going to be separations of powers. We're going to have these very strict privacy policies, and again, we're going to see some big scandal 5 years down the road that all of that data is going to be used to send more ads to you. Which I guess some people would say, okay, well, maybe that's not a big deal, but they brought up issues about if Facebook doesn't like some of your beliefs or some of the companies that you're spending money on, can they limit ads and limit, avenues to spend money at those businesses? And that's all kind of speculation. Some of the senators asked, but it is very, I don't know, it's very interesting. So Facebook basically said that their core revenue model is that Libre is that more online commerce will lead businesses to spend more on Facebook ads, right? So they said something like 90,000 businesses are listed on Facebook, but 90 billion businesses was it 90 billion or 90 billion? 90 billion or 90 million, some 90-something number of businesses are listed on Facebook, yet only 7 billion or million actually use and spend money on Facebook ads. So they think that this model will help get people to more likely spend money on Facebook ads in their ad space. I don't see that as a business model for you to put in $10 million just to have a vote. I don't see that as a viable business option. Granted, now for a lot of the other companies, I know that Lyft and Uber are involved, right? So if you pay your for your services through Libre, you're cutting out MasterCard and Visa's 3.5% service fee, and that will save those companies a lot of money, and I can see that being a very good revenue incentive. But I can't believe that Facebook's only intention is to just hopefully use this to then bolster future online commerce and future Facebook ads for their businesses on their platform. It doesn't make sense to me. It just seems like a lot of work and not a lot of juice for the squeeze. So that being said, what else? There were some other interesting things that took place at that hearing. Let me see, where did it go? I think, I can't really find it right now, but I think really the main concerns that a lot of Congress had was, antitrust laws or antitrust concerns about Facebook's Messenger app, because they would basically be embedding these wallets into Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp, and they're concerned about, okay, how are we going to be able to make sure that you're staying true to your privacy policies? How are we going to make sure that you're not going to then allow consumers to then give up their privacy policies through very long contracts and terms of service agreement updates and permission notifications through apps and stuff like that. So they're very concerned about how much data will actually be collected from this like association and from this currency. And I agree with them. I really think that, like, I know the big headline recently was like, big tech needs to stay out of finance. And I tend to agree, but I also tend to think that politics and government really needs to stay out of digital finance, in my personal opinion. I just get really upset about, there's something that will actually empower people like Bitcoin, becoming your own bank, having something to hedge against the current financial system, which is screwing you over, right? Like, that the current financial system doesn't work for the vast majority of people. And I'm not trying to seem like socialist or communist or whatever, but like, people in our current financial system get burned every day, whether it's through foreclosures, not properly understanding mortgages, whether they didn't invest properly, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with the way that our government regulates it and plays with the value of our dollar and the value of interest rates. It allows the Federal Reserve to just manipulate at a whim to suit their needs. So that's why I think cryptocurrency in itself is so fantastic and so amazing. Like, true cryptocurrencies, true digital assets that are decentralized and can transfer a store of value quickly, safely, securely, ideally anonymously. I think it's really important for us as people to have control over a store of value and and an ability to transfer that value. But yeah, so that was just like a quick me rambling on about this. I know we're gonna have another hearing tomorrow. Be kind of interesting to see what they go over there. As you may have heard or already known, the market has not really done well since the hearings. In fact, it really hasn't done well for a while, actually. So it's gone down, what is that? Almost 30% over the past 6 days, 30% over the past week. Today alone, accounting for almost 13%, and there seems to be no sign of stopping here. I think that it's just upsetting that you can get the federal government involved into something to just manipulate the shit out of it. But yeah, so that's just me just rambling. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button. Please subscribe for more content and some better content. This is done at like midnight and I'm tired and I read a lot. So, but yeah, again, my name is Danny K and this is Off Chain, where we talk all things blockchain. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.